Good morning, this is Blaine here to give you a little crash course on Agile. You may ask what Agile is. Agile is a way of breaking down projects and dividing them to be pushed out in different iterations of a website or versions. Now there are 5 phases to Agile, so I'll draw your attention to the left-handed diagram. Number 1 being our planning portion. This is where teams will get together and decide what projects they will pursue for the time they are given and define the business opportunity and time to work on the project. These time frames are also called sprints. Going on to number 2 is going to be our requirements section, where your team will end up sitting with stakeholders to talk about the work you'll be working on, and this is to gain further insight into what the new feature is supposed to do and what it may look like. Next, we move on to number 3. This is the designing phase. This is where the UI designers and developers will work together to help put together an idea of what the project will do and how it will behave or look. Now moving on to number 4, this is the building phase of the iteration or version, where developers will build the project to a finished state. From there, the project is then handed off to a test or quality assurance team member. This is where the project will undergo strict testing and testing multiple parts of the project to get it to break or to find bugs in the project. This is where the quality assurance members can say, hey, there's a bug that needs to be fixed, or maybe a button is not clickable that should be. From there, they can let the developers know, and it could be fixed as soon as possible. Next, you're going to see a left swooshing arrow in the middle. It says 2 to 3 months for the time frame to be done with the project, and it is my understanding that Agile is very modular and that it allows the company to choose how many weeks or months they would like to spend on an iteration or version for the employees to work on for that given time. Now, from what I understand for Agile, the goal is to, 1, focus on the processes that are laid out for all the team members and how the business is run. 2 is to highlight these changes and what all is being changed throughout the different iterations of a website. And 3 is to keep doing all of this while accelerating the change of the website. And next, it helps to drive secure development, with 1, relying on developers and testers more than security specialists to go back and test the products and say, hey, there's bugs here, we need to go back, we need to take a look at this. And from there, it can be fixed and a possible security breach can be fixed. 2, secure while we work, more after we're done. 3, implement features securely, more than adding on security features. And 4 is to mitigate risks more than fix bugs. So this would be making sure that the process is thoroughly thought out and implemented so as to not have as many bugs in the process when you go to a deployment. So now I'll draw your attention to my very horrible drawing that I have put up here. Now, I work at Proxybid, and our sprints are 2 weeks long, so from a Wednesday till 2 weeks later on that Wednesday, we spend 1 day planning here in blue and gathering the requirements for what things need to do, what they're supposed to look like. At this time, we'll talk to stakeholders and get their input on what is supposed to be done for that current project. Now, then for the rest of the time spent in our 2-week sprint, it fluctuates between designing, building, and testing and deployments. So what I mean is our developers will design and build the project or add on to an existing project to give it more functionality. From there, they then deploy that onto a test server where a quality assurance member is able to, I call, fiddle with the code. From there, they're able to try and make it break to see if they can find a bug. For me, I spend a lot of time in the developer tools trying to find things that are broken, reading any errors that may pop up. And this mix of going between development and the building and testing phase is, for us, a never-ending change. It goes back and forth. As soon as I say, hey, something's broken, they go back and they change it, then they redeploy, and then I go back and I test it, and something else may be broken. So then I let them know again, they go back, they fix it, and the whole cycle continues over. But for us, once we reach the end of our 2-week mark, we have code cutoffs, where on that code cutoff, no more coding is allowed. All the quality assurance members gather and they test the website all the way through to make sure that functionality is still there. And once functionality has been signed off on and that everything is working as it should be, then we close out the sprint or iteration, and from there that completes our Agile sprint.